those of you who don't know me, my name is Gillian Schell, and I'm the team leader of the Manitou Intentional Learning community. And I'm so thrilled that you're all here. When we suggested having this meeting, some of us thought, well, you know, maybe by now nobody needs to know any more about Zoom. But I think the fact that we have 34 people online shows that many of us really do need to upgrade our technological skills. So welcome and thank you. A few of you had problems communicating with me, and I apologize for that. I'm not quite sure why that happened. We're very grateful to Susan for being with us tonight. I think all of you know her at least through emails and messages, if not in person. She's the executive assistant and the administrator with the Canadian Shield Regional Council. And she's the go-to person for technology in our region. So we're very, very fortunate to have her with us tonight because, as you can imagine, in these strange times, she's extraordinarily busy. I'd like to begin the formal part of our time together with a land acknowledgement. And because I don't know where many of you are, I'm going to ask that I'm going to leave a space and ask that you type in the details of your specific location, the treaty and the First Nations people who are in your particular part of the world. For thousands of years, Indigenous people have walked on this land. Their relationship with the land is at the center of their lives and spirituality. We come together from the traditional territories of several Indigenous peoples, and please put in your information in the chat now. We acknowledge with gratitude their continuing stewardship of this land. We seek a new relationship, one based on honor and deep respect. May we uphold our continuing responsibilities as treaty people and work towards right relations. And then a very brief reflection. It comes from a poem by a British clergyman called Martin Rowe. And early on in the pandemic, he wrote a prayer for Zoom meetings. And this is just a little part of it. May we give thanks for this awkward digital blessing. May we be admitted. May we not be muted. May our distant sound and scrambled words finally align. May they catch up with our pixelated vision. May traveling this unfamiliar landscape neither lose us nor completely exhaust us. And may our bandwidth always find room for patience, gentleness, and the peace that bypasses misunderstanding. May our agenda always be kindness, the waving hand, our ecstatic benediction. Amen. So now over to you, Susan. Thank you.
I might need a copy of that.
I will send it.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome. In this time of the pandemic, when we can't see everyone in person, it's so wonderful to see all your smiling faces here online. This Zoom tutorial is being recorded so it can be shared with people who are unable to be here today. So any of you who would like to reference this after the event, I'll make that available for you. For those of you who are watching the recording and may not know me, as Gillian said, my name is Susan Whitehead and I'm a staff member for both the Canadian Shield and Shining Waters Regional Councils. So just two quick notes. I've muted everyone in order to avoid any background noise. Dogs barking, people talking, paper shuffling. It's really amazing what that little microphone on your computer can pick up. So if you do have any questions or comments, please type them in the chat box and we can address them. If you don't know how to use the chat box yet, I'm going to teach you how to do that. So hold on. The second thing is my camera is above my head on a very large screen. So oftentimes I'm going to be talking and not looking directly into the camera like this. So my apologies if this is a little bit disconcerting, but I think you'll get used to it. We'll be covering many different topics in this tutorial, such as scheduling meetings, the roles of different people who are attending, the different views that we can see on the screen. We're going to learn about the chat box, about screen sharing, about audio and video settings. I'll touch on breakout rooms, security setting, and a few more things. So just remember, we're all learning, including me. As I mentioned to Jillian this afternoon, every single time I'm on Zoom, I learn something new. For those of you who don't know, I have a background in teaching, and I used to say to my students that there are no silly questions. I can pretty much guarantee that questions that you might want to ask are on the minds of at least 3 people that are in this meeting. So they'll be really thankful for you to ask them. So if you feel like you need to ask a question, please do it. So let's be patient, let's be respectful, and most of all, let's relax and have some fun. So let's become friends with technology. So if you take a look at my slideshow, I'm sharing my screen right now in PowerPoint. I don't know if anyone has shared in PowerPoint before, but a bunch of my colleagues, both at the regional level and at the national level, have found that sharing PowerPoint in Zoom sometimes has a little bit of a glitch. So what I do is, I'm just going to show you here, I reduce the thumbnail like this, and I get rid of this, this ribbon up here. So sometimes you can pin it like that, or you can get rid of it by clicking this. Personally, I like to just make it as big as possible, and then I click on the screen again, and then I can start moving through. So just a little tip that we've learned. My colleagues and I have been doing a lot of Zoom meetings like you have, and that's one of the big pieces that we've learned. So if you take a look at these 2 black lines, that's the Zoom toolbar. And there's a difference between if you're a host and a participant. So if you look at the bottom, you'll see the mute, stop video, manage participants. Well, it'll say participants, and it'll say chat and screen, etc. The ones that are crossed out are only the ones that you'll see as the host. So whenever you look at my toolbar, it'll always have the one at the top. And if you're hosting, yours will as well. So I'm going to go through those items in a few minutes. But I told you I'd teach you about chat. So let's take a look at this. So on your toolbar, and you can't see it now because I'm sharing, you will see that there is the chat icon. So you're going to click on that. And on the right-hand side, depending on what device you're using, you're going to see a white box appear, and at the very bottom, there's a little button here that says to, and then there's a drop down that tells you who you can write to. So if you click on everyone, like right here, you're going to send a message that every single person in the meeting will get in their chat box. You can also choose to pick someone specifically who you want to send, we call them private messages. So you can also do that. For example, if I have to give Jillian a message during this presentation, but I don't want to say, hey, Jillian, could you do this, please? Likewise, if you're having a church meeting, you don't want to interrupt, you could type a private message to someone and they'll get that, only them, okay? But there's a catch. The host at the end gets a printout of all the chat. So the host will always be able to see everything at the end of the meeting. So just FYI. So I am going to stop sharing. I'm going to ask everyone to click on their chat button and type the city or town that you are in. And if you notice from the chat, you don't need to put in your name. It says from your name to everyone. So if everyone could do that right now, you're going to click with your cursor on the type message here. You're going to type the message and press enter. Don't forget to press enter or it won't come through. So I'll just give you 30 seconds to do that right now. Okay. Nice. Okay, so let's go back to sharing. So as soon as I press share, you're not going to be able to type again. So I see people are still typing. I'll just give you 10 more seconds. Okay. So oftentimes, I'm just going to get my little thing here. So there are times in large meetings, let's say, or even smaller meetings, where we need to gather information. So I know at the regional level, we like to save the chats. So for example, all of those town hall meetings that we had where you asked those questions, we have all of those questions that you asked in the chat, we saved it. And here's how you do it. So in the box at the bottom in the chat box where you put in your typing your message, you'll see these 3 little dots here. You'll click on that and it's going to say saved. So I'm just going to show you right now how to do that. So what I'm going to do is share my screen so that you can see exactly what I'm doing. So down here there are 3 little dots. I click on it and it gives me drop down. So I have choices on what I want, either no one, the host only, everyone, or everyone and publicly and privately. So I have a choice to choose which kind of chat that I would like to save. So I'm going to say save chat. And I've learned that as soon as you push the button, it's about 5 seconds and then it disappears, maybe 10 seconds. So it highlights in green and it says show in folder. It says chat is saved, show in folder. So I have to click on that right away. Otherwise it disappears and then it'll bring up where on your in your computer it's saved. And so here it is saved and I click on it and it comes up. Oh, file conversion, okay. And it comes up as a text file. So I usually save it as, it comes up in Word as a text file and I just modify this, I erase some of the things and then I keep it as a Word document. Okay. So let me just share again. Okay, so if you need any more guidance on that, if you have trouble, feel free to let me know for sure. Okay, so let's talk about the views. There are 2 different kinds of views in Zoom. We have a speaker view and a gallery view. So in Zoom, this is what it looks like for the speaker view. You have the person who's speaking highlighted in a large screen, and then you have everyone else at the top in a smaller screen. And if you notice this on the right-hand side, there's an arrow. So we have 37 people online right now, and there's only 6 pictures available, 7 with the large one. So you just can push this button to view all the other ones if you so desire. So this is gallery view. So this is, you know, people call it Hollywood Squares, they call it the Brady Bunch. I'm sure you've heard all the comments about what it looks like. But this is where you can see everyone in a box, in their own boxes. And I think there's 12 to a screen. And then what happens is on the right-hand side, you will see that there's an arrow and you can click to the next page and it'll show all the next people. And when you're having a meeting of, you know, 100 people, there are a lot of pages. But the beauty part is when you look down here at manage participants, it tells you the number of people that you have in your meeting. So I can see right now that we have 38 people in this meeting right now. So the way that you toggle between the 2 is you press speaker view or gallery view. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a chance just to play around. I'm going to stop my spotlight video, which I'll explain in a minute. I'm going to move it to gallery. And then up at the top right, again, depending on what device you're on, you can click on speaker view or gallery view. You control that yourself. Unless I'm pinning something or spotlighting a video, which I'll explain, you control it. So just toggle back and forth and see the 2 different views. Now, I'm going to share my screen. So you don't have control of your screen anymore. I'm actually the screen that you're viewing is my Zoom screen. If you're ever going to do a tutorial and you need to be able to share your Zoom screen the way that I am right now. You can't do that unless you change a setting in the back end of Zoom, and I can teach you how to do that another time. So you call me if you want to start, if you're going to become Super Zoom Pro and you want to do some tutorials or at least show some people stuff and you want this, I can teach you how to do it, okay? So I want to spotlight my video. So I'm presenting. So if you have your chair of your board, let's say, and he or she, they want to be spotlighted. They want to make sure that they are pinned right there. I click these 3 buttons here, and there's a drop down that comes, and I'm going to talk about some of those other drop down items in a bit. And I click on Spotlight Video. So you see what happened? I now am spotlighted, and you cannot switch from gallery to speaker view because I've pinned me as the spotlight. The beauty thing about this is that when I switch to sharing my screen and I start going back to my PowerPoint, the actual recording will have my PowerPoint and my picture up in the corner at all times during the video recording. So I'm sure you've seen Zoom videos before where that happens, where the speaker is up in the top corner. Okay, so that is the spotlight video. So I'm going to stop sharing this. Keep my spotlight. Okay, let's see what's next. All right, so let's talk about meeting roles. I'm going to share this and get into the meeting roles. So there are 3 roles. I'm just going to touch on them briefly. I'm sure most of you know them, but some of you might not know. So the host has the ultimate control. The host is the one that controls every single thing that happens, and there's only one. So I'm in the process of helping my colleagues plan for the tech for our large Shining Waters online regional council meeting and the Canadian Shield one in November. And we're trying to figure out how we can do this with just one host. So we can have an unlimited number of co-hosts, but there's only one host. So they can start and stop the meeting. They control the breakout rooms. They do the live streaming. They share all the controls. They can lock the meeting. There's all kinds of security features. There's some I can teach you. They control everything. The host can also do the same things as the co-hosts, but the co-hosts can't do the same thing as the hosts, obviously. So they can mute and unmute. They can remove attendees. They can record. They can let people in and see the waiting room. They can rename people. They can spotlight video. They can move between breakout rooms, but they can't control the breakout rooms. And then there's the participant. So with permissions, so as the host, you can control the permissions. You can control the video, that you can allow people to have video or not. You can allow people to speak or not. So with permission, they can mute and unmute themselves. They can start and stop their video. They can share their screen. And again, this is with permission. They can chat with permission. You can turn the chat off. There are lots of things that you can do. They can look at the participants. They can raise their hand. They can vote yes, no. There are a lot of different things. So making hosts and co-hosts and renaming. So I'm going to just stop right there. And I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to stop my video. And so I noticed that there are a lot of different names. So let's do the naming first. I see many different names, and I see something like HP, and I don't know your real name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and show you how to change your name. So you're going to go to those 3 dots at the top, or don't do it yet, or this other way you can do it is to go to the participants list, and you can rename by hovering over someone's name, and well, it'll be your own, and you can rename. But for right now, here's what I want you to do, and you can't do it until I stop sharing. So I'm going to just show you what I'm going to do. So I would like you to do this when I finish. So I'm going to rename, and I'm going to put my first name with a hyphen, my community of faith, followed by the city or town that I'm from. So if you take a look at how I just changed my screen name, there's my name, the community of faith, and my town, city. Could you all do that for me, please, right now? And I'll give you a chance to learn how to change your names. Incidentally, while you're doing that, as the host or co-host, you can rename people. So for example, oftentimes at the regional level, we've got our Zoom meeting that allows the 1-800 number, so people can actually call in. When people call in, they can't change their name, so you only have a phone number. So at the beginning of the meeting, when I see that, I say, okay, I see that there are people, this is just, meeting prep. When people come in, I say, oh, I see the number 474-6195. Who's that person? Could you unmute yourself and let me know who you are? They tell me, and then I rename them, or a co-host will rename them. And then we know exactly who's on the phone. Okay, so I can see lots of people are getting that. Carol's iPad. Carol, you're here twice. Now I could remove one of those, but you know what? I'm just going to leave it because I don't want to monkey with it in case I kick Carol out of the meeting. So I'm just going to leave it. Good. Okay, so now let's just talk about making someone a co-host. So since I have Carol, I'm going to pick on Carol again. So Carol, I'm going to make you a co-host. So I'm going to share my screen and show everyone what I'm doing. So I go to Carol. I can either go to the participants or I can click on the 3 buttons. So I'm going to click here and it says all of these items, I want to make her a co-host. So Carol, I'm going to make you a co-host. It says, do you want to make Carol the co-host of this meeting? And I say, yeah, sure, click. And now Carol is a co-host. So now she has all those rights of the co-host that I mentioned in the rules earlier, and she can do all of those things. So let's say that you're hosting a meeting for your church, and you could only stay till 6 o'clock. So I gotta go. I can't stay. I can't host anymore. So I make someone else the host. So I decide, okay, Faye Moffat, you are now going to be the host. I'm giving you the control, Faye. Here we go. Do you want to change the host to Faye? Yes, but you got to give it back to me, Faye. So there you go. So I am no longer the host, and now it's Faye. She has ultimate control. So now Faye, you got to make me host again. So click on my picture and those 3 dots that you see. How about you unmute yourself and we'll see what's going on. Hey Faye, can you unmute yourself?
So when you're, as long as you're screen sharing, I don't know how to get onto your.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. I forgot. Thank you. So you go to my picture and go to the 3 dots that hover over the top right corner, and you'll see the 3 dots, and then arrow down, and you can make me host again. Okay. So she has made me host again. Thanks, Faye. Okay. So let's see what else here. Let's share. And let's see. So I can ask someone to stop the video. I'll just look at these right now. I can make the spotlight video. So like I mentioned, so if I want to make me the big picture, which I'm going to do, I'm going to make spotlight right there. Okay. So moving on. So let's take a look at this Zoom toolbar again. So as the host, you might have to do some troubleshooting at the beginning of Zoom meeting. You know what it's like when someone comes on, they're like, I can't hear anything, I can't unmute myself, I can't start my video. You know, these are things that happen to everyone. So if you take a look at the toolbar again, we have the mute icon and the start and stop video icons. Okay, so we're going to talk about those. We've got the share screen, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. And then just a little note here, if you are a participant, it will say leave meeting. When you're a host, it says end meeting. So just be prepared that if you're the host and you press end meeting, you will kick everybody out and it will be over, and the whole meeting will go put and it'll be over. So that's fine if it's at the end of the meeting, but not during the middle of it. So the audio button, the mute and unmute. So when you're muted, there'll be a line through the icon like this. Just a little FYI, Zoom is constantly making changes and updates to their system, which I really appreciate. I think about 4 months ago, this line was white and it was really hard to see. They changed it to red and I really appreciate that. So just watch, there might be little changes. There could be changes in the next month from things I'm telling you today. So just keep that in mind, okay? So if you want to mute, you click. If you want to unmute, you click that as well. Let's say you're having trouble. Your microphone's not working. I've had this happen before and I learned that there's this little arrow beside the mute and unmute button, and when you click on it, this appears, and you can choose which microphone and which speaker you're going to use. So for example, on my system I have set up here in the office, I have a desktop computer. I'm not using a laptop, I'm not using an iPad, I'm using a desktop, which means I have a tower and my computer is separate from my screen. So my screen does not have a camera, it doesn't have a microphone, so I went and I purchased a microphone and a camera with a microphone in it, and I have speakers that are separate. But for right now, I'm on my headset. So I choose my headset because I can hear and I can talk with the same device. So what I do is I make sure, and I'm just going to stop sharing. Come on, come on, come on. And I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so, and it's not going to let me with that there. There we go. So if you take a look at this, I have many different microphones. I've got 3 different microphones here. I don't know if you can see that. It might be a little bit small. It puts a check mark beside the ones you want to use. So I don't want to use the stereo mix or my webcam as the microphone. I have that choice, but I don't want to. I want my wireless headset. And the same, I don't want to use the speakers in the totally different device. I want it in my headset. So as long as you make sure, if it's a headset you're using, which I highly recommend, you use the headset, you click whichever one you want for your speaker and your microphone. And of course, then you can come in here and you can test that during the meeting while you're waiting for it to start, or you can, if you're in the waiting room, you can test your, they'll give you a prompt to test your speaker and your microphone as well. Okay. So let's get back to this one. Okay, so your video, it's exactly the same thing. You click on the video, it can start your video, it can stop your video. So here's an important piece. If you are having trouble, you're finding that my voice, my picture are really garbled, or there's a lag, you need to turn off your video. So we listened to Jillian's poem earlier about praying that the bandwidth will hold up. And the bandwidth is basically just the amount of things that you can download and to watch on your screen. And if it's too much with all those videos on, it doesn't affect everyone else, it's only yours. And you might get this message that says unstable internet, or it might just be garbled. If you keep your speakers on, but turn your video off, that takes up so much bandwidth, it should help the issue. So you can still see everybody else, you can still hear everybody else, but your video, by turning your video off, it opens things up a bit. And again, you can choose which camera you want. So just like mine, I'm choosing my Logitech one, and you just click on the one that you want. So usually there is a default. It'll automatically default to something. Usually the defaulted one is the computer's way of saying, hey, this is probably your best choice, and you might want to use that. Okay, so just a little FYI for that. Okay, so raising your hand. In Zoom, we do voting. We ask questions and we want people to say yes and no. We may vote on some proposals. You may have a question and you want to raise a hand. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on the participants icon on your bar, at your toolbar at the bottom, and then the window will open up on the right, just like what we saw before with the chat. At the bottom, you're going to see raise your hand. You'll see yes, no. I'm going to show you what it looks like. And if you click on both the participants and the chat icons, they're going to stack on top of each other. So let me stop sharing and I'm going to show you what mine looks like. And I'm going to actually, there we go. So here, as a host, I can see all the participants. I'm going to get rid of chat because there's a lot of people here and I just want to see everybody. So I see that Heather Mitchell's not muted. I'm going to mute her. So these are things that as the tech person in the background and the host, you can see. So I can see everybody is muted. Some people have their cameras off, some people don't. That's no problem. So this is where you have yes, no, go slower, go faster, more, and clear. But you also have a share, a raise hand, which as the host, I don't see that. So I am going to press stop sharing. I would like you to press participants, the icon at the bottom, and bring your participants up to the right side. And would you please raise your hand by clicking the icon that says raise your hand. So there are two things that are happening here. If you take a look at your picture here, I'll stop my spotlight video and I'll make everybody in the gallery view. You can see everyone has their hand up. Most people do. Okay, so it comes up as blue. Heather, I see you there. And it depends what icon, what device you're using. So if you are on a cell phone, that really limits, because it's so small, it really limits. You've got to page through a whole bunch of, you got to swipe through pages depending on how many people are there. You can use the cell phone. I've done it before. It's fine. It's just not as maneuverable as being on a computer or a laptop. Same with iPad. Phone, iPad, computer or laptop. Okay, so that's you get the most out of being on the computer or laptop. Okay, so now I'm going to share and I'll let you see what I do as the host. So I see all the people who've raised their hands. So let's say someone has a question. There might be only one or two people. So we had a Canadian Shield Regional Council executive meeting today, and people had questions while the presenter was talking, the chair was talking. And so I could see, doing the background tech, I could say, oh, Kathy had a question and Julie has a question. And so then I would type in the chat in private to the chair and say, there are two questions. First, Kathy, then Julie. Okay, so those are the kind of backroom things that you can do while the meeting's going on so that you're not actually talking and interrupting the presentation. So now what I can do is I can clear all. So watch, you can't do this, but as a host, you can do this. So watch this, I can clear everything and it all disappears. So now I'm going to ask the question, and I would like you to press either yes or no. How many people's churches have already opened or are opening in September? Please press yes or no. So if it's either one of those, just press yes, and if it's not, then press no. And the people who can't do that, I understand you're having trouble with that, and that's no problem. Okay, so now, if I'm host, how do I see people voting? So watch this. That was a question that Faye had in the chat. So now I can see how many people have voted, how many people have said yes, how many people have said no. And take a look down here. 7 people have said that their churches are already open or have opened or will be opening in September, and 22 people have said they're not. So this is extremely important. So if you're having a congregational meeting, this is really important to be able to see. The minute taker can tell exactly if it's passed or not passed immediately. So it's really, really great. It's a great feature to have. If you have somebody on the phone, they cannot type in yes or no. They can only do 2 things. And of course, we don't have someone on the phone, but I could call in myself maybe later, and I'll show you how to do that. They can press, it's either *9 or *6. I'll let you know. They can do 2 things. They can mute themselves and unmute themselves by pushing *6 or *9. Sorry, I'll figure out which one it is. And they can also flag. It's like a hand going up. They flag themselves. So if you're going to do voting, you want to have, you're going to ask the question for the people who are on the computer who can vote, and then I'll go like this, clear, and I'll say, okay, people on the phone, please press * whatever it is, and indicate yes. You're going to take notes and clear it. You're going to say, okay, so people on the phone, please press * whatever it is, if you say no. And then again, if you abstain. So these are the kind of things on Zoom when you have the people on the phone that you have to do. You've just got to break it right down. And it's totally doable as long as you know the process and everybody understands. So if if you're really clear in your instructions on how to do it, it'll go very smoothly. Okay. So here I'm going to clear everything, and I'm going to stop sharing.
Can you do multiple questions?
You can ask anybody anything you want, Richard. You just need to be very clear. You have to give, if you need to have a yes, no, and an abstention, then you need to ask it 3 times for people on the phone, because they can't write in the chat box. They can't vote. They can only raise their hand if they're on the phone. Now, let me be clear about the phone. There are very few pastoral charges and communities of faith that have that option because it's super expensive, like really, 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 really expensive. So we've got a very upgraded Zoom account, and we've got that toll-free number so people can phone in. So it's probably not going to be an issue with people who live within the same area code where they wouldn't need, they can still call in and use a local number, but you probably wouldn't need to use that. I'd be worried about it being really expensive. So don't use the phone unless you've got the toll-free number for sure. Okay.
No, what I was thinking was if you asked a question and the answer was A, B, or C.
Okay, well, Richard, you bring that up. I was going to touch on polling later, but I can do it right now if you like. There's an option here at the bottom to do polls. So we have that option. It's enabled in my settings to do polls. So when I click on a poll, what you would want to do is go back, and I don't want to get too far into this. You could go back in the settings before the meeting starts, and you can make a poll. So the poll could be, Richard, what do you want the question to be?
I don't know.
It's going to ask me to sign in. So you see what happened? It's asked me to sign in. So you have to do it in the back end. So this is a little bit on the fly. It's a little bit hard to do, which I'll do it if you want.
Okay, do you like red, blue, or green?
There you go. Okay, here we go. So you have to sign in. So that's why it's really good to do this. What's my password? It's really good to do this CAPTCHA code. Oh, see, now this is new. This happened this week. This CAPTCHA code, do you see that? That's a new thing. They never had that before. And Zoom is getting a lot of computer, I hope I did that right. There you go. Okay, so take a look at this. This is the back end of the meeting. And here's the poll that at the bottom. I'll just do it really quickly, okay? And I'm going to add a poll. And the title, fave colors. So what was your question again? What is?
Okay, what's your favorite color, red, green, or blue?
Okay. How about we say, which color do you prefer? Question mark. And I'm going to have multiple choice. And you said red,
green, or blue?
Green or blue. Okay. So I put in the, again, I know I'm doing this quickly because I wasn't planning on going through all this, but you asked the question, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to save this. And it's now in here under the poll. There is a poll question sitting there and waiting. So I'm going to go back to my Zoom room here. And then, so let's say I did that before. I have 10 questions. Okay, I could have, it had an option there to add a bunch of questions. So here's my poll. So you can see this. That's my question. There's the title. And here it is. I can't vote because I'm the host, but I can launch the host. I can launch the poll and you can see it, but you're not going to be able to participate until I stop share. So I'm going to stop share and I'm going to launch the poll. So would you please click on which color you prefer? Red, green, or blue? So what's really great is it tells you out of the 25 people, 26 people, well, 37 people really, who are voting, it tells you the number of people who have voted, which is 29, and then it tells you, and that number is going to go up as soon as more people start voting, and it gives you the percentage, and it tells you exactly the number of people, out of the number of people who voted, not out of the number of people who are in the meeting. 15 out of 30, so only 30 people have voted. So here I'm going to just share again so that you see exactly what I see. So stop voting for a minute and take a look. So 31 people have, out of 37 have voted, only 83%. And it tells you the number 31. Oh, you're still able to vote while I'm doing that.
No, we can't see it.
You can't see it though, no. Yeah, because I've got my share screen there. So when it's time, I'm going to press the end polling and then you'll see the results. So I'll just give you one more minute. Go ahead if there's still those 5 people who haven't voted, if you want to click on it. And if you don't vote in the next, 10 seconds, that means you probably can't because of the device that you're on. Okay, so 33. All right, so I'm going to share my screen to let you see what I do. So then what I would do is I would control the polling. I can end it. And then it tells me the highest number with the percentage. And it tells you what people wanted. Now, I can relaunch it again. Let's say something happened and not everybody voted. And someone said, oh, I didn't get a chance to vote. You can say, okay, everybody, let's do it one more time. I can relaunch the vote. Otherwise, you will not see this until I share the results. Okay, so this is the host's view. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to press share results, and then that's what you see. And it says attendees are now viewing the posts, the polls. And then I have the choice, and again, I'm going to toggle again so that you can see what I do as the host. I can stop sharing the results now. So I stop, and then I get rid of it. But if I push polls again, I can still see, and if there were other ones, there would be a drop down. If there were like 5 polls, let's say it's not really a poll that we're doing. Let's say we're voting on a proposal, and we've got 4 proposals to pass at the church meeting. Then I'm going to have all 4 and it'll be listed, and then you can pick and choose which poll you want to post. So that's pretty advanced stuff. I don't want to go any more into that. That's pretty advanced. We've only, all of us in the Shining Waters and Canadian Shield have only just learned how to use polling. So it's pretty easy once you learn how to do it, but it can be a bit advanced and a little too heady for beginners. But thanks for bringing that question. Okay, so now let's get into sharing your screen. So we have learned, oh boy, we have learned a lot of things about sharing just from trial and error and pretty much just playing around. I call some of my colleagues and we just have a play session, and we learn so much from that. And I encourage you, if you have a Zoom account, call two people and say, hey, you want to have a play session? And you just basically go on and you fool around and learn all the different things that are there. So screen share. As the host, I can always share. My co-hosts can share, but the participants cannot share unless I enable it. I'll show you what that means in 1 minute, but if you take a look here, you're going to click the green button that says screen share, and then this white box is going to appear. And there's a lot that I have to say about that. So let me just give you a quick, let's see this. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen, and you won't be able to do this because I'm sharing my screen. So I'll let you do it in a minute. So I'll pick someone to volunteer to share their screen. So I'm going to click share my screen, and this is what comes up. There are two options. You can select to show the screen, which I have highlighted in blue, or you can choose an application. So by application, I mean, look at this. This is PowerPoint. This is Internet the Explorer, this is Chrome, this is Word. These are all different applications that I currently have open on my computer that I can share with you. When I'm sharing with you, and I want to be able to share all my applications and everything that I have open, I want you to be able to see everything. So I click screen. This is really, really important. I click screen, and then I click share. Then you'll be able to see everything. So for example, right now I'm sharing my screen. I have PowerPoint open. If you take a look at that, I have PowerPoint. If you take a look at this, I now have Word, and you can take a look at that. And I also have my Chrome open. So you saw every single one of those. And I'm going to go back to my Zoom screen. So if I go and I click only on the Canadian Shield Regional Council web page, which is on my Google Chrome, then that's what you're going to see, and that's what you're only going to see. If I push my PowerPoint or if I push my Word and I'm doing things in the background, you're not going to see that. So that's really important, because sometimes we're carrying on and we're presenting and we're talking and we think everybody can see what we're showing, but all of a sudden you hear someone say, excuse me, I can't see your Word screen, and I'm there, I think that you're there. So it's really important that you distinguish between those two views that you want people to see. So for example, today, again, I'm going to use the executive meeting that I was doing. I was showing something in my Word. We were doing a proposal, like a motion. We were passing a motion, but I needed to get something ready to bring up on the screen because someone said, oh, can we take a look at that, whatever it is, document one more time? So while they were looking at that and talking about that, I was in the background getting it ready. And because I clicked on, let's see here, because I clicked on here, whatever one I was on, they couldn't see what I was doing. So the difference is, if you click on screen, you can see everything that you're sharing. If you click on the application, the viewers can only see what you are showing, okay? That particular application. So another thing to think about, when I'm sure a lot of you have been involved with online church services that have happened, and sometimes we want to sing along with something on YouTube, or something that we have that we want to share that has like a video, for example. When you go to you press your share screen and this box comes up, you can click on the particular YouTube video that you would like to share, so something in your Google Chrome. But there are two things here that we've learned that you need to click. You need to click on this that says share your computer sound, and you need to click on this second one that says optimize screen sharing for video clip. So if I press share and what did I have on earlier? Let's see. I had, oh, it's not there. I had something, yeah, okay. I had a YouTube, what was I watching? Sacrificing chickens. So I won't put one on right now, but you understand, like, that's what you have to do when you share. So, let's see here. I think that's it for the videos. Let's see, I'm gonna go to this one, share screen. Okay, are there any questions more about sharing screen? I'm going to just click that off and I'm going to just ask if anyone has any questions, because I know that's a big one. Is there someone who'd like to volunteer to share something on their screen? Show me by pressing participants and putting your hand up, please. And I'll click on the first person I see. Oh, Faye Moffat. How about Faye? Is it okay if I get Betty to share? Because we were sharing with you last time. Okay, so Betty, if you can unmute yourself, please.
Okay. Yeah, I missed. You said the first thing on the share was share something and then optimize something.
Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to, you can just, if you're not using a video, you don't need to do that optimization at all.
But if I did show a video,
if you wanted to show a video, you need to make sure those two bottom buttons are clicked.
And I would have to have the video present here.
Ready and waiting. So you see how I was caught? I got caught there. I didn't have one waiting and I wanted to have one and I forgot. So that actually is part of something I'm going to mention later on about prepping for a meeting.
Yeah, I'm not
have everything ready.
I got underneath here.
Yes, you don't have to show any videos. Just, do you have something open, a Word document or your email or?
I can't remember, but if I hit share screen, it'll go to whatever I happen to have.
Yeah, so, well, we won't see it until you press share. So this is important, everyone. She can press the share screen button. So Betty, press share screen right now. We can't see anything. Only you can see that white box that lists everything that you have open on your computer. So as long as it's not something private, if you want to just.
I don't seem to have anything. I don't quite.
Okay. Can someone else raise, like, either you can open something or someone else can try? Do you want to just open something, Betty?
But it's not really allowing me. How am I going to where?
Okay. So this is important because now she's got this, you've got the share screen square in front of you, don't you? So you're going to go up to the top right corner of that white box and you're going to click the X button.
Okay.
Okay. So down at the bottom, so this is important for everyone to know. So down at the bottom, Betty, you've got your taskbar for your computer. So it's going to tell you the different applications. So PowerPoint, Excel, Word, Outlook.
No, I can't see what is underneath. I can't see what's.
Okay, so let's see here.
I don't know there.
So can you minimize, so this is important for everyone to learn. Can you go up to the far right corner of this Zoom box and press the two small squares? Not the red X, the two small squares. It's going to minimize this box.
Two small squares.
Yeah, at the top right corner.
I've got speaker view and exit full screen. I don't have two small squares.
Okay, so then what you're going to do is you're going to, beside speaker view or gallery, whichever one you're in, is there a small box there that says enter full screen or exit full screen?
Exit full screen.
Okay, everyone, this is important. So you're going to click exit full screen And then poof, what happens is all of your taskbar for your computer appears at the bottom,
Okay, yeah.
right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Betty, everybody goes through this, and then what's going to happen is once you press it, you're going to say, how do I get back into the Zoom meeting? And I'll teach you that too.
Okay.
So you can just click on any of the icons down there.
Oh,
Yeah, whatever you want, just a Word or a Word document or a website or anything that you can share.
My mail.
Sure. Well, that's up to you if you want to do that. We'll do it quickly and we'll get you to turn it off before we see the mail that you have. So as soon as you have something open, click on share screen. Now are you out of the meeting now?
You can't see it anymore.
Okay, so this is important. When you go into another application and all of a sudden, oh no, my Zoom meeting disappeared. You go down to the taskbar and take a look at the icon, which is the blue square. It's the Zoom icon. It's a blue square with the white camera.
Okay. Yeah.
Click on that, and then do you see us all again?
Yeah.
So click on the box with all of our boxes, and now you're back in the meeting. Okay, so all you did was you toggled back and forth between the Zoom meeting and applications on your computer.
Okay.
So now if you press share screen.
No. Yeah, I lost that for a minute. Okay, skip. Okay.
Yeah, I can see the reflection in your glasses.
Okay.
So I see the white screen. So click on what you want to show us and then press share screen. So we see what happens is it says Betty St. Andrews Sudbury is starting to share her screen. All of a sudden everything goes black, and then we all shoot over to the right, and then we see, here we are, an email that she is sharing with us.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
So you can press stop sharing at the bottom. So there's that little piece that, yeah, and it says, no, there's a stop sharing at the top. It'll be in red. It'll say stop sharing.
Oh, stop share. Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Easy peasy. So
Thanks.
if you're ever in a meeting and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to go find that file about X, Y, and Z because we're talking about that in this meeting and I need it right now. And so if you go into other applications and all of a sudden you're like, oh no, I've lost the meeting. You find the Zoom icon and you just click on us and we'll get right back into it.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So that is sharing. I'm just wondering if there's anything else that we need to know. I told you about optimizing the video clip. Okay, so let's go back here. And I'm going to go back in here. All right, so managing the meeting. So as I talked at the very beginning, there are differences in this toolbar about hosts and participants. So you can see that the security, the recording, and the breakout rooms are crossed off, and it doesn't say end meeting. It'll say leave for participants. But with hosts, we have the security bar right here. So the security tab lets you do a lot of different things. You can lock the meeting, you can enable the waiting room, you can change the chat, you can rename people, you can control the screen shares. There's a lot of things that you can do. The security before the meeting, which I can talk about later on, is you can add things like passwords, you can disable people being able to join before hosts, you can enable waiting rooms, those kinds of things. Just think of it like there are 3 levels of security. There are 3 levels of settings. So we have the back end pre-meeting settings. So these are the universal settings for the entire Zoom account. The second type of settings are when you're setting up and scheduling a meeting, you can change different security settings within the meeting itself before it starts. And then within the meeting as a host, we have this security button where there are things that we can do. So I'm going to start. Sorry about that. I'm going to show you here. Here's my security button. Oh, I'm going to move this over so that you can see that. So when I click on security, I can lock this meeting right now and not allow anyone else to come. But I see we're now at 39 guests, and we've had 3 people who have come late or had planned to come at a certain time because they had something else going on. And if I locked the meeting, closed the meeting essentially, they wouldn't have been able to join. So if you have all the people that you need in your meeting and you're not expecting anyone else and you're worried about security, for example, if you're doing something highly confidential and you absolutely do not want any security breaches at all, you can lock the meeting. Okay, you can do that during the meeting right now. That's totally doable. If I wanted to enable the waiting room, I could enable it right now, and I could send someone to the waiting room. Hey, Jillian, would you like to be a guinea pig? Oh, you're muted. Hold on, I'll stop sharing for a second. There you go. Can you unmute?
Okay, I'll try.
Okay, so you saw on my security settings that I have enabled the waiting room. So as soon as I tick that button off, I go up here to those lovely 3 dots, those 3 horizontal dots, and oh, I'm going to withdraw your co-host permission. Sorry, because I can't chuck you out of the meeting unless I do that. Okay, so you are no longer a co-host. So now you can see that when I enable the waiting room through the security button, the icon at the bottom of the toolbar, I now have the choice to put her in the waiting room, which I'm going to do. Bye-bye, Jillian. I'll let you in a couple seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jillian is now gone from the meeting. So take a look over here at my participants. It shows all the people who are in the meeting. And now, this is the waiting room. Jillian Shell's waiting. When I hover over her name, it says admit or remove from the meeting. So I can let her into the main meeting room, or I can check her right from the meeting. I think I'm going to send her a message instead. So I click on message. And if you see down at the bottom here, I'll move this back over here. It says message to everyone in the waiting room. So this is really helpful if you're doing interviews. So I've done national candidacy pathway interviews, and we have 3 candidates who are being interviewed in the waiting room, and the people in the room are still deliberating, so we can't let them back in. So I'm going to send them a message. Hi, Jillian. Thank you for waiting. And I'm just going to say, I will let you in now. Okay, so I send it. She sees it in a little square that comes up, and I can let her in. So if I press admit, the waiting room disappears, and she's now going to pop up in our meeting. And the waiting room is empty, and she's here with me. So I'm actually going to find her again.
I'm back.
And you're back, yay! And I'm going to make her a co-host again. So as soon as I make her a co-host, well, she's supposed to appear at the top. What if I close? Close and open again.
I am at the top on my screen.
Oh, see, on mine, I see Dawn. And I'm going to clear. There you go. Oh, so you see what happened? See, I just learned something new. So Don, and I actually knew this, but it reminds me. So Don Haslam still had his hand up from something earlier that I asked if someone else wanted to try. And do you see what happened? It had my name, it had Don Haslam's name with his hand up, and then it had Jillian as the co-host. So that's a really good tool to let you know that if someone needs their hand, like if their hand is raised to ask a question, they bump right up to the top. So that's an important learning there. Okay, 7:38. We're getting there. Okay, so that's the waiting room. I'm going to move this back over again. So I'm going to take the meeting room out, the waiting room, excuse me. So this is where I can allow participants to rename themselves to chat or to screen share. So I'm going to take that away because nobody needs to share their screen. I'm going to let you continue to chat, and then you can rename. You've already renamed yourselves, okay? So those are some of the things with the security within the meeting. Okay, so Jillian, I know that you said not to talk about scheduling a meeting, but it ties. Uh-oh, what happened? Oh, well, let's talk about recording. But I just want to really quickly talk about the difference between the app and the online Zoom account. So I'll talk about that in 1 minute. So here you can see the record button. The host can record. When you click record, it gives you a choice of recording onto your computer or in the cloud. So when they say in the cloud, remember when that used to be such a ominous thing, in the cloud? Where's the cloud? What do you mean? What's the cloud? Really what they mean is it records on the server within your Zoom account, and you can access the recordings in the back end of your Zoom account. So you can opt to have an email sent to you to say, hey, your Zoom account, your Zoom recording is available. Here, click here to go to it. Or you can just go back into your main back, we call it the back end of your account, and you can find your recording. They will record the meeting's audio and video, and it records the speaker's voice, okay? Breakout rooms are not recorded. So for example, when we had our town hall meetings, during that time I had to edit the video because it's just dead air for 40 minutes or 30 minutes or 20 minutes or however long your breakout room is. It just records, you know, the host. I'm sitting there by myself in the main meeting room, and it's just me there. So you can edit that, or you can press pause in the recording. It's entirely up to you. Excuse me, sorry about that. You can click the stop to end the audio and video recording of the meeting. And the recording will not be saved until the end of the meeting. So even if you stop halfway through, it's not going to do anything until the very end, okay? The shared slides will be recorded, but you can always request them from the host. So there have been a lot of United in Learning webinars, for example, on the finances, and maybe that they had a PowerPoint slide stack that you really want to use with your community of faith at a meeting. You can always request from the host to have those. And likewise, if you're the host, you can always give your PowerPoint slides, but they will also be recorded, obviously, in the video. Recording the meeting is not the same as saving the chat. So it does save the chat, but recording the meeting, it's a little bit different. You retrieve the recording in your website account, and I will show you the difference between those two. Oh, and sorry about that. Inform your participants you're recording and how you intend to use the recording. So if you remember at the beginning, I mentioned that we're going to record it and that it'll be available for people who couldn't come, or if you would like to use it as well. There are some people who might not want to be recorded, and that needs to be talked about at the beginning. So if there's ever a time that you don't want to be recorded, or if you want to know why the recording is being used, you have every right to request that, okay? And it's best if you can edit them. Okay, so scheduling a meeting. So as I said, that there are two different ways that you can access your Zoom account and to schedule a meeting. So the one is by using the zoom.us web, it's a website essentially, okay? And then you sign in and you can access your account. So here I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to show you. So I am just loading here. Now I have my Zoom account already here in my thumbnails and it goes right to my account. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sign out and I'm going to show you the page. So it's zoom.us. You look at the top here and you go to sign in. I click on sign in. I'm going to pick my email and put in my password. And I got to try to read that CAPTCHA code. W7F7P. And sometimes those are really hard to read. So I'm going to hope, yay, I got it right. Okay, so here we are in the back end of your meeting online. I am going to, you can see all of the meetings when I click this meeting tab. It shows all of the meetings that we have set up in this account for me. So this is the meeting that's going on right now. You can tell, I can join it, I can end it, I can edit it. So let's, I'm going to schedule a new meeting. So let's click this. I'm just going to do this really quickly. Change the title, very important. Otherwise, the topic is the title and you are going to have so many of my meetings, you're not going to know who did what. So let's say plant and property meeting. Okay, you can put a description in there if you want. So I'm going to have it for tomorrow. It always goes to PM, so if it's an AM meeting, you need to make sure you change that. I've got caught a few times when it said 9 PM and then they can't get into the meeting. Choose the duration, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, whatever, and then you have it in increments of 15 minutes. You can choose to have it as a recurring meeting. If you click it, you can put in the data for how you want it repeated, ending date, how many occurrences, that kind of thing. I don't want to do that. Registration is a whole nother beast. We are just learning about using registration for our large meetings. To be continued. So I have some preliminary information on that, and call me or email me if you want more info about that. I can choose for security reasons to put in a passcode. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I'm sure you've heard that Zoom has had some issues where people have crashed meetings. I highly, highly, highly recommend that you do what Jillian did when she advertised for her meeting, her event, for whatever it is. You have to email her to get the registration. And in the registration, you'll get the URL code, the code for this meeting. Because if you put the code online or publicly, you will have every Tom, Dick, and Harry coming to that meeting, and you'll get some people you might not want in the meeting, okay? Just FYI, when it's online, it's around the world. It's not just in, you know, Thunder Bay, North Bay, Sudbury, it's around the world. Everybody has that option to come to your meeting, so you need to be really careful. So I can enable the waiting room if I choose. This comes up as a default for the host and participant to automatically come on and to be able to have their video. I have the option of telephone and computer audio simply because we have the dial-in toll-free number. These meeting options, I can mute the participants on entry. I can pre-assign the breakout rooms. Usually that only works with registration. And again, if you want to know more about that, I can tell you. We save the meeting and then we get this page. So this looks familiar. If you remember, this is where we talked about the poll and there was information I could add a poll down here. But for now, this is what I do. I copy the invitation. Here it is right here. I copy it and then I insert it into my email. Okay, and then I send this, the invitation with the Zoom meeting link, which is right here. And I send this in the email. So whenever you get invitations from me, that's what it'll look like. Okay, so that's the online one. Here is, I'm going to make it bigger. This is the app. I don't prefer to use the app. It's just the thing for me. There are certain things that you can't do, like you can't retrieve recordings, and I don't know that you can do polling and the app. Pardon? Oh, did someone say something? So I don't prefer to use this, but it doesn't mean that you can't use it. You can screen share from here. You can schedule meetings. You can do all kinds of things, but the settings button is here, the little cog at the right-hand side, and then you just can click on these items here. It's just not a preference for me. I prefer the other one. So again, it's whatever you wanna do. Okay, so that is scheduling a meeting. Now, I just want to, sorry, Richard?
Question. Okay, when you schedule a meeting and you send it out to people and they register, how do you get it to go onto their calendar and say, you know, like their Google Calendar with the URL? Because what I find is when I'm I register and then I can never find the darn URL. But if it goes
Right.
to the calendar, then I can find it.
Okay, so if you have Google Calendar or you're in Outlook,
Right.
so this is something that I use myself. So I'm just going to show you my Outlook, and I'm going to open it up. Just give it 1 second to get going here. So I have the option of going here to meeting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up as a meeting, and then you have to accept it. So I take that invitation that I had, right? So I copied it and I paste it here, and then I send it to everyone via email.
Right.
So we could say, and again, this is only in Outlook. You can do this in Google as well. So I'm going to send it just to myself. Okay. So here it is, and the subject. So you would put all the people that it goes to. The subject is Zoom hosting tutorial, and the location is Zoom, and it's going to be Sunday at 9:00 p.m. till 10:00 p.m. And then I send it. So then when I receive it, because it's coming to myself, you're not quite going to see it. But when you receive it as an email, you have a choice to accept or decline. So the minute that you accept it, when it's in this meeting format, it's an email, but it's within a meeting. If you accept it, it'll immediately leave your inbox and it goes right to your Google Calendar or your Outlook calendar. And all this information that I have written here, anything that I write in there. So if I say, hi Richard, the info you wanted. So this whole thing, Susan, so this whole thing is going to appear when you accept it in your email. It'll come as an inbox email. You accept it when you open it. Like you open it, it'll say accept, decline, send a message to the host, whatever you want to do. And then the minute that you accept it, it disappears and it goes right to your calendar. If you decline it, it goes to your deleted box. Really important. Okay. So the other thing is that if you don't have a calendar and you accept it, it will still go to your deleted box, but it's not going to go to your calendar. So if you have, I think it's Google Calendar and Outlook Calendar, it'll appear. Otherwise, it goes to your deleted box. So if I or any other member of the staff send you this kind of a meeting, just know that you need to look in your deleted box to find it if you accepted or declined it and you don't have a calendar. Richard, does that make sense?
Yep. So you do it from Google or Outlook.
And you do it as a meeting. Now, I don't know how you do it in Google, but I'm sure you can figure that out. Just Google it, figure out how to do that. But that's how you would do it. You would copy that invitation and you'd throw it in, and that way it'll just appear. And so let me pull my calendar up here. All of a sudden, look at all these meetings. So here is my, here it is right here. This is where we are right now. So I set it up as a meeting, and here's the URL to get in. and I know the time, and boom, it's all there. So I have it all on my calendar, and you can see my calendar is very full. So I have congregational meetings, I have pastoral relations committee meetings, I've got SJNOR meetings, property resource meetings. So all these meetings come on my calendar. So even if I'm not in the meeting, I accept them so that they come onto my calendar, so that when someone from Trinity United Church in Thunder Bay calls me and says, when's the next property meeting? I can tell them, I say, oh, it's 2 o'clock on Thursday the 17th. Okay, I hope that wasn't too much information. Okay, so that is scheduling. I just want to show you one other thing, and that is the back end settings. So if I want a recording, I want to find a recording. I can see all the recordings that I've done in the last, let's see, 30 days. So here are all of my recordings. I can click on them. I can share them if I want, or I can download the files. So it's video, audio and video, and the third file is the chat. Okay, so I can download them this way. But more importantly is the settings. So we have profile meeting. Webinars are, it's not, you have to have a special account for that, and even the regional council offices don't have webinars. We can do everything within meeting. We don't need to have that. So you click on settings, and we have different topics. We have security, we have scheduling meetings, we have in the meeting basics, in the meeting advanced. So I'm not going to go through all of this, but these are the universal settings for your Zoom account. So when you change these, they affect every single meeting that you have booked and all of your future bookings. Okay, so you need to be really careful and really think about that. So I don't want to enable a waiting room for every single meeting. I want to be able to do that when I either remember those 3 levels of settings I was talking about? I don't want to do that for every meeting. So I'm either going to do it in the meeting when I set it up, or I'm going to do it when I'm actually in the meeting. Okay, so we have passcodes. I know these are very small. I can't make this any bigger, so I apologize, but this is where I want you to go and play. I want you to get into your settings and you go in there and just take a peek, because that's how I learned everything I know, is by just getting in the back end here and just playing around. These are enabled because remember before when I said it was defaulted when I started the settings for the meeting? They're defaulted because I have them turned on in the main settings. So if I had these turned off, the host video and participant video to start when the meetings start, if those are turned off and everyone has to start them, then that's because in my universal settings right here, I have them not enabled. So I don't want people to have to worry about, you know, turning their video on. I just want it to come on when they say, do you want to use your computer audio and video? And you say yes, that first time when you join the meeting. I want them to be able to just have their video come on and their sound come on. I don't want them to have to go through 2 steps or 3 steps to get those turned on. And again, there's meeting IDs, the chat. So I can prevent people from saving the chat, and I can also prevent people from having the ability to chat. So see that? As soon as I press that, it says turn off for chat. And it's telling me it's going to affect your meeting that you're in, and it's going to affect everything. So I'm going to cancel that. I want to keep that on. I want people to be able to chat. Sometimes we don't want people to have private chats while there's a meeting on. Say you have a webinar and it's not appropriate for someone to be chatting with someone privately, just for attention reasons or whatever the reasons are. You can disable the private chat. File transfers, let's see, polling, you can get rid of the polling if you want. Co-hosts, if you don't want anyone, you can get rid of that. Screen sharing. So I always enable host-only screen sharing with the option to allow participants. So the biggest reason for that is, again, if someone comes into my meeting who maybe is a hacker and shouldn't be there, and I'm sure you've heard about some not so nice things that have been shared on screen during meetings. One way to avoid that is to stop the sharing and just to allow it when you want it. Okay, so I have that option to do that here. There's a whiteboard. I'm not going to get into that. It's just a whiteboard. You can use it in the share option. The breakout rooms. So I'm going to talk about that next. So breakout rooms, you can allow them. If you are in your Zoom meeting as a host and you can't find that breakout rooms icon, it's because you don't have it enabled here in the settings. So, like I said, go and play in the settings, and as the host, go and play with the breakout room. I'm going to show you how to do it right now, and you can go in there and play around and just call a couple people and say, hey, let's 5 of us get together and we'll do a breakout room and we'll just practice. Practice, practice, practice. Okay, so anyway, there's all these stuff. You can allow people to have video filters, virtual backgrounds. There's all this kind of stuff that you can add. And here's the live streaming. So you can, and I'm not even going to go into that, Richard, or whoever had asked that question online in the chat box earlier. I'm not going to go into how to do that. That's an advanced feature. So you can enable it, and then there's a way to share and to allow that within the settings, but we're not going to go into that today. Anyway, I'm going to stop sharing that. There's lots that you can learn from there. Breakout rooms. Lots of people are talking about breakout rooms, and there are a lot of people who says, what the heck is a breakout room? So a breakout room is exactly the same as this room, except you're going off into another place. So as a host, down at the bottom, you can see you've got the breakout rooms icon. It's the 4 squares together. So when you click on it, this appears. And it's very small. I'm sorry if it's really small. It says create breakout rooms, assign 38 participants into how many rooms? Do you want to do it automatically or manually? Well, let's do it both ways. So right now I have 38 participants, and it's so wonderful. Look what happens when I say, okay, let's go into 2 rooms. It tells you how many people per room. I don't have to do any math. I don't have to figure it out. If I have 4 rooms, there'll be 9 to 10 people. 5 rooms, 7 to 8 people. 6 rooms, 6 to 7 people. All right, I'm going to go until I get 4 to 5. Let's see here. Let's go to 8. So I click on this, and don't forget, if you're taking notes and I'm going too quickly, I'll have this recording available for you to look at and you can review it, okay? Everything I've talked about. So let's click on create rooms. So see what happens. It gives me all the people who are in this meeting right now are in this. I've assigned them automatically. It's random. They go to a breakout room. So I'm just going to put this down a bit, and you can see we have 8 rooms. And it tells you how many people are in each room. So we can rename the room. Let's say we want to name it as colors. So I'll type it in and press blue. Rename, I hover, click. I'm going to make this red, enter. I'm going to make this orange, enter. You can change each of the names of the breakout rooms. Okay, that's the first option. Second option is, if this is, you've got people in here, and you know what, I want to have 6 people in the red. So I can choose someone that I'm going to move to the red room. So Pam, you're going to the red room, bye-bye. So I've moved her, and there's her name. She's moved from the blue room into the red room. Oh, but Pam doesn't get along with Elizabeth. Ah, darn it. Okay. I'm going to exchange Elizabeth. That really isn't the case, and I'm sure that wouldn't happen, but it could be something like, oh, Elizabeth and Pam were in the last breakout room together. Let's switch it up. So that might be a reason that you would move someone. Or, oh, Pam and Elizabeth, they're at the same community of faith. I want Elizabeth to have experience talking to someone else. So I'm going to change Elizabeth with, I'm going to exchange with Ted from Willow Grove. So here we go. As soon as I click this button, Elizabeth and Ted are now switched. So Ted is in the red room and Elizabeth is now in the orange room. Easy, 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 easy. So that's what happens if it's done by automatic. I can choose now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to recreate. I've changed my mind. I want to choose who goes to which room. So you can say, okay, I want 8 rooms. I want to manually choose who goes where. And I'm actually going to change the rooms. So there's just a few less. I'm going to recreate. And now what happens is they give me the 6 rooms, but now I need to assign the person. So I'm going to say, okay, so for breakout room 1, here's my list of people who are in this meeting. I'm going to click 1, 2, 3, 4, and Mary. That's room 1. Room 2, I'm going to assign Betty, Dawn, Faye, Art, and Colette. Room 3, I'm going to choose Mary Jo, Susan, Heather, Diane. So I would have reasons for putting these people together. So maybe we're doing a talk about clusters, and they all are geographically clustered together, and it's important for them to be together. Or let's say we've got a network, we're doing network talks, and one room is going to be about right relations, second room is going to be about affirming, third room is going to be about food bank networks. Whatever the topic is, this is how you can choose who goes where. And again, if I change my mind, I can switch people around, whatever you want to do. So I'm going to recreate all rooms. So that's the difference between automatic and manual. So I'm going to recreate all the rooms again. I'm going to leave everybody where they are. I'm not going to change the names. I can delete a room. Let's say, you know what, I want to delete a room. Let's delete that. I'm going to delete breakout room. There you go. And it's gone. Okay. So I'm going to recreate all the rooms. Okay. This is where the options come in. So I'm going to click the options at the bottom, and this is where you can choose how the rooms are set up. You can have the option of people to move to the breakout room automatically. For example, if I click open all rooms, all of a sudden, all of these squares are going to disappear and you're all going to leave the screen automatically. You have no choice. But if I click this off, you're then going to get a message that says, the host would like you to join breakout room number 2. Would you like to join? And you click yes. Okay? So they can have the option of clicking the room or staying in the main meeting room. Okay, so let's click it so you don't have a choice, sorry. You can choose to allow them to come back to the main meeting room if you like, or they have to wait until the host closes the room in order to come back. It's just another control factor. Let's say I send all of you off to a breakout room and Jillian and I, as presenters, want to have a talk about what's happening next after you're done your breakout room. We don't want people coming into the main meeting room and hearing what we have to say. Let's say, for example. So we would not allow you to come back into the main meeting room. You would actually have to exit the whole meeting. You'd have to leave the breakout room and the meeting and then come back into the main meeting room if I didn't give you the option to come back that way. So I'm not going to let you come back. I'm going to change. You can set this for as many minutes as you like. It'll close automatically. I'm not going to do that because I'm going to close the rooms. If I was to say that it's going to close after 2 minutes, let's say, or 30 minutes or 20 minutes, I want the Zoom to notify me when the time is up. So what's going to happen is if I put a timer on the breakout room, you will see at the top, I think it's right corner, or maybe it's in the middle at the top, it'll say how much time is remaining. It's a countdown clock. I also, as soon as I press breakout rooms, it'll show me what the clock is ticking at, okay? This countdown after the closing the breakout room, we just had this at the ministry personnel retreat. I don't know if we have some ministry personnel here who were there, but one of the ministers, Erasmus Madimbu, said to me, I was right in the middle of talking and you cut me off. And so what I like to do, if it's like a 20-minute breakout room, I'd like to give an announcement, like give a 5-minute warning, and then give a warning to say the rooms are now closing. But I also like to give them a countdown timer. So you can give them 15 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, and then that's when it'll really close. So you can say that it's closing, but then you give them a chance to finish their thought, and you can put that in. Okay, I don't want countdown. I don't want this. So I'm just going to send you into your rooms, and then I'm going to bring you back and show you what I did. So I just want you to experience a breakout room, okay? So I'm going to unmute you all, and I'm going to send you to a room. So Zoom, off you go. And for those of you people on the recording, you can see everybody disappears. And they're gone. And soon all of these people will disappear. And then I can choose to go back into the rooms if I want. So I'm going to share my screen. And here you can see I can join any of the meeting rooms, which I will let them know about. And there's one person who didn't go.
You did it again.
We had a quiet little bit. Yeah.
So let's see, we got everybody back. So I can see here, if you're in the room, it has a green dot beside that. So we can see that they're not started. And then what happens is if I open the room, there's a little box. So I'll get everyone's, I don't think I can show it here. I did that before where I showed it. Anyway, it'll show each room, and it'll say join right here. So if I want to join the room, I can go into every room. I can leave the meeting room and go in. So during when you all zoomed off into your breakout rooms, I was actually still talking. So if you watch this recording later, you'll see that I'm still talking to the viewer. So it's kind of funny, actually. So when you watch the video, you'll be able to see how I could join each room. And then at the bottom, it said broadcast to all. You also have the option within the chat in the breakout room to talk to the private chat to everyone in there, or you can send a message to the host. So if you're having problems, there's a technical issue or something, you could say, hey, Sue, can you come join me? And it tells me the room number, and then it says join, and then I can click it and I end up right in your breakout room and I can talk with you. With regards to the recording, like I mentioned before, it only records the main meeting space. You cannot record each individual breakout room. So a tip for hosts, what we ask is that if you're in your breakout room and you're having a session where you have to record something, I'm sure a lot of you have been on our town hall meeting where we've asked someone to have a secretary, and the secretary will record in the chat things, questions or comments or web links or files or anything that you share in the chat. We ask them to highlight it, cut it, and paste it into the main meeting chat, because as soon as your breakout room is done, that chat disappears and you won't be able to get it back. Whereas this main meeting chat, I can remember how I told you back with the recordings where you can download a recording. The 3 files you record, one of them is the chat. So you can always access the main meeting chat. So that's a good tip on to find out what's happening in the breakout rooms, have a recorder, and then they can just put it in there, or they can just record it in like a Word document and pass on the Word document if that's what you want. Okay, so a few notes before you start your meetings. These are some of the learnings that we've had as we facilitate and host meetings. The one thing about Zoom is I'm just going to, I'm not sure if I am sharing my video, and I'm going to spotlight as well. The host has spotlighted the video. Okay, so the one thing about Zoom is that we don't all have the same visual. So remember I talked about the Brady Bunch squares, the Hollywood squares, and how we're all in squares. The way my squares are set up could be different. The configuration of people could be different. So I could have, oh, hold on one sec. I just want to stop sharing for a second, and I'm going to mute all, yes. I could have a different, I could have one person on one page and one on the other. So it's just important for you to realize that everybody has a different visual and they're in different orders, okay? As the host, you want to give clear instructions about what people do to participate, especially for many people this is very new, being it's a new experience. And you want to make sure that people understand what they're doing. So usually what happens at the beginning of every meeting, we do a quick, we talk about the mute and unmute, starting your camera. We talk about the participants to be able to raise your hand or say yes or no. And we talk about the chat box. So those are basics that you would go over if you're hosting a meeting. So a few things you do before you start the meeting. You want to silence your phone. So my cell phone is sitting beside me. I've got it on silent. I don't want to have any interruptions. And I don't want you to hear anything because you can hear, as I told you before, your computer microphone can pick up a lot. Set up a timer if you need to have it. Turn off all your notifications. So for example, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to close my Outlook because I have this lovely notifications thing that happens. Oh, it's not going. It'll go in a minute. I have these notifications that'll come up on the screen, and if you're presenting, sometimes you could have a confidential email or something that comes up and you don't want anyone to see maybe who that email is from or whatever the case is. You don't want anything popping up that you don't want seen. Test your meeting ahead of time, rehearse with others, play as I said before. Prepare your space. So we ran into this when I thought I had a YouTube video lined up that I wanted to show you how to do the video, and I didn't. I've used other platforms. If some of you remember, we used to use Adobe Connect, which was a very good platform for this kind of meeting. It's super sophisticated. And if any of you have ever been in those meetings and the tutorials that you needed to have from me before you could even download the meeting, it was pretty extensive. So we decided once we became a region to just go exclusively with Zoom. And so have millions and millions and millions of other people. I think when the pandemic started, within the first 2 months of the pandemic, they had 26 million new users who had new accounts. So that just talks about how easy and user-friendly that Zoom is. So one of the pieces in Adobe Connect was that I could set things up ahead of time. In Zoom, you can't. Within the meeting, you can share, but you have to have everything lined up. So just how I talked Beth through having to find things, have it set up. If you're going to share something in Word, have your Word document right there ready, and then you just need to click on it. Other things we've noticed, you want to close everything that you don't need. I mentioned that already. Put on your headphones and make sure your audio settings and your video settings are working. Find a place with good light. So something that happens if I had a window behind me and the sun was shining, all of a sudden you're going to just see this bright light behind me and you're not going to see my face, or I'm going to go very dark and you're just going to see that bright light. So just be aware of that your camera picture will change as your light changes. So just make sure that you you have something that's not too bright, and definitely if you're sitting in front of a window, you need to close the drapes. If you are sitting in front of a window without drapes, you just turn your computer to a place that against a wall or something, okay? And again, we talked about the speaker view, the gallery view, figure out what it is that you want. And when you have questions, make sure that you ask them, and don't be afraid to ask, for sure. What we're learning about group facilitation. So if you are the host and you're a chair person of your group at church or wherever, it could be, you know, a bowling league or whatever. These are some of the things that we're learning. You want to be able to welcome people and assign greeters. So I have asked Jillian during this meeting, I see that the chat is going orange, which tells me that there is a chat. So I'm going to check that to see if there are any pertinent questions. But if, you know, I can't, I'm really busy doing, you know, my presentation or whatever it is that I'm doing, you assign someone to do that. So I told Jillian ahead of time for this meeting that, you know, I said, if there's something really pertinent that comes up and I don't get to the chat, can you please just unmute yourself and be my co-host and tell me if someone has a question or read the question out. So assigning a greeter or someone who's going to be checking the chat is very good. And again, like I said, you want to have someone who briefly explains the basics of Zoom for any of these new users who don't know how to use it, because you got to remember, every single meeting you have, potentially there's at least one person who's never ever seen Zoom, doesn't know how to use it, and you're going to have to troubleshoot that at the beginning. We do it at every meeting, except if it's a meeting that has met a group of people that has always met before, okay? Small groups can invite each other to do speaking during a check-in or group conversations. One of the neat things that we do in our staff meetings is when we do staff check-in, and perhaps you do this in maybe network groups or church meetings or whatever. I could share a check-in of what's going on in my life, and then I could choose the next person. So I would say, okay, I choose Janet to start next, or Joseph's going to be next. And that's kind of a neat way to break the ice. You can choose the next person after you've shared. Sometimes when you're online, it's you feel like you have to, there's silence, right? And so when all of you are muted, there's total silence. And it's really important to remember that if you ask a question or ask people to do something, like talk in the chat, like type in the chat, you have to give time and space for that. So just, it's really important to remember, you don't want to rush through, like say, okay, does anyone have any questions? And then all of a sudden, no one posts anything in chat. Well, it's because they're still typing. And you're like, okay, well, let's move on. You need to make sure you remember that we're not in person. Yes, I can see your face. I can read some of your body language online. But in this case, I'm not even looking at you right now. I'm looking at my group facilitation PowerPoint. So I can't even see if someone's waving at me or telling me something. So you just need to make sure that you leave that space for input by monitoring the chat and helping to respond and lift up questions. And the last thing we've noticed is that it's really important to have one co-host for about every 20 people. Again, you can have as many co-hosts as you want. You only get one host. Okay, so I see here, there's a lot of chat and I see privately stuff. Okay, so Jillian, we are almost at the order of the day. We have 10 minutes and I just wanted to
Actually, Susan, we did schedule it till 8. So
till 8, oh no, so we're late.
Some, don't worry, some people have left, and that's why you have a lot in the chat saying thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay.
So if there are questions, now would be a good time. I have a question. Some of your last slides were very unclear, and I'm wondering if, as well as sharing the recording, you could separately share your PowerPoint so that people would be able to look at those PowerPoints.
Yeah.
to review the material, because we've
Yes.
learned a lot. So
Yeah. Oh, yes, for sure. And it's still recording, and I'll be posting this on the website and making it available. Yeah, and I can share those. Just know that some of those are copyrighted, so you have to let me know if you're going to share them. You have to cite the illustrator, and I took some of that from the Shining Waters staff members. So, yeah, just always
Okay.
remember copyright.
Okay,
when
there
you're,
was a
sharing.
question from Deb in Thunder Bay about, am I allowed to share the recording of this Zoom meeting that you're going to email with the secretary of our church board?
Anyone. I'm going to put it available for anyone and everyone.
Great. Thank you. Any questions for Susan? Please type them in the chat.
I'm typing a couple of them.
Great.
Yeah, the slides are, they're a little bit small, especially if you've got a smaller screen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just got mine typed in.
Okay, why not just show the PowerPoint slideshow full screen? Can the host permit multiple participants to record locally? That's a question in the chat from Art, Susan.
Yeah, yes, I can allow that. And so I see Carol is recording on her iPad. So I've given permission for the recording to happen, and anyone can record it. So she's recording it locally. Carol's laughing. She's saying, I didn't know I did that. I can see it, Carol. You're funny. So it says, why not just show the PowerPoint slide full screen? Well, I did that. So when I was sharing, everyone should have gone over to the right side. Art, can you unmute yourself and just talk to me about that question? Can you share more about that question you had?
Sure, when you first started off, you were showing how you minimized the thumbnails down the left-hand side of your PowerPoint screen, and you minimized the up at the top. Why didn't you just go to the slideshow menu and start show with your first slide ready to share?
Remember, Art, I said that there was a glitch that we've all noticed. It's when you do that there's a problem. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
And I've even tried to make it into a PDF and share it that way. It's a little bit better. But we, meaning, general counsel staff, regional staff, and users of Zoom, I don't know what the glitch is, and I'm not sure why, but I'm not willing. I've had it happen in the middle of a meeting where it freezes. And I can't move anything, and it doesn't work.
Okay.
So they might work, Zoom, being they, might fix that glitch, but I'm not willing to take that chance. So I just do it the way I did.
I hadn't experienced that particular glitch.
Okay, well, I have and others have, and so maybe it's fixed by now, but I'm happy just to do this the way it is. I'd rather have it work. That's my workaround.
I have participated in a number of other Zoom meetings hosted by different people, and they've just done that, no problems.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So I thought maybe it was me, and I thought maybe I was doing something wrong, but I had 4 other colleagues who were telling me, yep, we don't do that. We don't do that at all. So, hey, if it works for you,
okay,
have at her.
Just wondering about that.
So we have some other questions. Jillian, which one did you see first?
You see the one from Heather Patterson. We do a breakout room after Sunday service. Maybe you can address that because lots of people are doing that.
Okay, so we do a breakout room after Sunday service and rename the ones we want to include with a W before their name. As participants leave the meeting, when am I trying to assign lists? Oh, okay, so are you asking, so Heather, can you unmute for a moment, please?
Sure. Yes, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, you go ahead.
We have two congregations that meet together for Zoom. So at the end of the meeting, the service, we like to allow time for the one congregation to go into the breakout room and speak with their friends, etc. So we put a W in front of their name, should drop them all to the end of the list. So when we go to assign, we can just go to the W's. What happens is people can, of course, once the service is over, decide to leave the meeting. So as this is happening, I'm trying to get the W's moved over. People are leaving and the list keeps bouncing. And I guess it's adjusting for alphabetization. So it's moving around. I'm just wondering, when that happens, the list stays complete at least, does it? So all the people who are still in the meeting are still on that list.
Yes, and then if they're unassigned, or if they come, and this is something I should have mentioned, if they're unassigned because they came into the meeting late before, because I often assign my breakout rooms, let's say Jillian's doing worship, and we're going to do, you know, breakout rooms 15 minutes after she's done. While she's busy doing that, I'm fiddling with the breakout rooms. So if someone comes in later, let's say they come in halfway through her worship and I'm already done my breakout rooms, it'll show at the top unassigned, and you can assign them. If you don't assign them, they stay in the meeting room. So if you start the breakout rooms, everybody goes except the people who are unassigned. So the workaround for me is you can give people, when you give people the option to go into the breakout rooms, i.e. you get that little, and I should have I
see that in the options.
shown you, if they don't press go into the breakout room, they stay in the main meeting room. So what you could do is you could make one breakout room and say all the people with the W's who want to go to the breakout room, when you get that little notification, can you please press yes? And then they'll all shoot into the room. You open the rooms and off they go, and everybody else stays unassigned. They don't click the button or they leave. So that's an option. That's a real pain. I know what you mean about it adjusting, and that's a way that you can do a workaround.
Yep. Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes. And I didn't realize that could be set up during the service. So as we're getting toward, you know, like 3 minutes left or something, that should be happening, and have that all done.
That's what I call Oz behind the curtains. Everyone jokes about me being the great Wizard of Oz, because that's the kind of stuff that I'm doing behind the scenes that nobody sees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. That's what we'll try to do that this Sunday maybe, and see if that works.
Yep. So David from Chisholm, I see it says, Sue, have you ever recorded a meeting and then uploaded it to YouTube? Yes, I have. If you go onto the Canadian Shield Regional Council website and look for the last town hall meeting, I actually recorded it. I downloaded it to my computer. I edited it, because all that piece of, there was probably 40 minutes while you were in a breakout room, I had to cut that out. So I cut and pasted and edited everything. And then I uploaded it to my computer, and then I uploaded it to YouTube. So the answer is yes. I can teach you how. I think we'll probably do some more how-to videos, maybe not with a bunch of people, maybe just 1 or 2 people, but do some how-to videos. And there are some how-tos out there.
What program
Carol,
did you use for editing your video before you uploaded?
I wasn't sure what to use. Someone said that there's something within, there's a YouTube editor, and I was having trouble, so I didn't bother doing that. But I just downloaded Movavi Editor Plus.
M-O-V-A-V-I?
M-O-V-A-V-I. And it's very easy. I've done a bunch. In fact, just this afternoon, I was working on the last town hall that we had last week to upload it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, Carol, it's not a good idea to host on an iPad. Like I said, you've got 3 levels, right? You've got the phone, which is, you don't want to do it if you're hosting, if you're desperate and you're traveling. So I've had Zoom meetings in my car before. I remember I was doing a national meeting, and I was like, I couldn't find the office where I was supposed to be. And I said, oh no, how do I get off the street? How do I turn? Where do I turn? And everyone's laughing, because they know exactly where I am in Scarborough, and I was trying to get to a place. So probably not the safest thing, but if you're not participating, you're just listening, having a meeting in your car is just fine. But phone is here, iPad is here, the best is computer or laptop. Okay, Jillian.
Any more questions? We could take one more, but I think we're all pretty overloaded with information.
Yep. Yep. 2 hours is usually 2 hours without a break. 2 hours, I find, is the threshold.
I think we all deserve a pat on the back. We've done well to stick with it, and that's wonderful. So Susan, thank you so much. That was amazing. Lots to learn, lots more still to learn. We look forward to receiving the recording and the slides so that we can get back. I absolutely love the idea of Zoom playdates. I think that's something we need to be promoting and working on and doing within our own group so that we can all be a little more confident and have some time to play around and not feel embarrassed if we don't know how to do something or make a mistake or suddenly end up throwing everybody out of the meeting. So I think that is an idea that you shared with us tonight that we will certainly be continuing with. So a huge thank you to Susan, a huge thank you to all of you for joining us. Just a little plug that if you haven't already received the information, MILC is hosting its next session. It's called Confronting Racism, and we have two speakers, Carla John from Cambrian College, who is an Equity and Diversity Officer, and Kelly Leah Sinaway from Swakopmund Friendship Center School, and they are both going to talk about what it is like to be someone belonging to a minority group and what sorts of challenges they face living in Northern Ontario and what they would like to share with us about how we can be better allies. So it's really going to be based around their lived experience and their willingness to share what we as people of goodwill might be able to do to help. So you'll be receiving that information soon, and I hope you'll join us. So thank you again, Susan, and good night. Enjoy the rest of your evening.